Hey everybody, good afternoon everybody. I'm Fredricks alongside our data guru Garrett Archer. This is coronavirus COVID inside the Arizona numbers, and thanks so much for joining us today. An interesting day because we came off of huge numbers yesterday of positive cases, Garrett, and today was going to be a real test to see kind of what direction we're going in Arizona. So tell us what we have going on today.
So we talked about yesterday, if you all remember, obviously we had a very large day yesterday of, I believe it was 10 or 11,000. I don't have the sheet.
I think it was in excess of 11,000, right? 11,795 from yesterday.
Yeah, thank you very much for having that on hand. And yes, and we said that there was a batch upload on Sunday that would have caused that number to show up on a Monday rather than a Tuesday, because that number typically shows up on a Tuesday. And we said, well, tomorrow we're going to find out if that's the case. And that does seem to be the case, because today's number of new cases reporting is 4,134. For Arizona, it is a lower number. And Kate, I don't think Katie's sick, so someone said.
Yeah, let's not start a rumor there, Garrett. She just has the day off. She just has the day off. I'm just keeping the chair warm for her.
So, and then, yeah, so it's a lower number than typical. Although, as you can see, the death number reported today, sadly, is more on par with a Tuesday. A much higher number, taking into consideration what happens on the weekends, 64 deaths. What that brings us today is a 7-day average that actually spiked down pretty quickly because of that 4,000. So we're at 6,600 for the 7-day average. However, the 7-day average for deaths is also 64. So that 64 is now representing about, on average, what we see every single day right now. About 64 people are succumbing from COVID-19 in the state. Now, like you said, what we've seen in the past, last week, 12,314, that was our big one.
Yep.
We had the week prior to that, on December 1st, we had 10,322. And then the week prior to that, that was prior to Thanksgiving, we only had 4,500. So that's sort of what we're looking at right now with these numbers. As far as the positivity rates, let me go through that really quick. I'm going to leave this. I'm going to go to my Twitter account where I post these and show everyone where we are on our positivity rates, because we do have one to look at that was very interesting today. It could have been administrative, but rarely are these positivity rates because of administrative issues. As you can see, very high positivity rate today, 26.6%.
Wow.
That showed up. And double digits in most places, 33%. In Greenlee's 50, but really that's such a small number of tests that are done in Greenlee. We see that number a lot. This number was probably the most concerning today, was a 60% positivity rate in Yuma that was showing up. Now, I do have some indications that might be because of some issues with reporting, and that their case number is actually starting to level off. But again, that's what my data is showing today for the positivity rate for all the counties. 60% in Yuma. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, Garrett, when we look at that, like when we look at Yuma there, and when we look at Greenlee, and how much could those numbers be skewed by just so few tests being performed in those counties, that if you get maybe one congregate care setting, or a prison facility or something like that, just to throw those numbers off?
Oh, absolutely. These numbers get thrown off a lot because of small testing that happens in the rural counties. So you'll see, like, sometimes when I report county positivities, Greenlee will be at 0, and then the next day it'll be at 60%, because they're doing a lot more targeted testing, just like you're talking about those long-term care facilities and some other places. So because of that, we don't really see community testing. We don't see this like in Maricopa County, for example, in Pima County, where we see people just going and getting tested because of whatever's going on in life, whether their job told them to do it or they were, came in contact. Obviously in some of these smaller counties, you don't have as much contact between people. You don't get community testing in the same way, and that skews the numbers up. But again, we're only talking about, in some cases, 10, 15 tests. Right. Whereas in Maricopa County, we're going to be talking about 7, 8, 9,000 tests or more sometimes. So that's why that test number for Maricopa County is typically a little closer. Now, because of the administrative batch uploading we had yesterday, I would say let's give this number a day to settle and see what tomorrow's look like, because these, even to me, look a little higher than they should be right now. And it seems that maybe there's a situation in which they were doing a lot of case researching And because they were doing a lot of researching, but they already had the testing because the tests are coming in so fast right now, and they're really it's taking less than a day in some cases for tests to be added to the system. So because of that, we could be basically out of sync in our tests and cases. And as time goes on, they get they become kind of closer to what it should be.
Does that include, do you think, Maricopa County? Because I mean, I'm looking at that 27.3 number, and I mean that's creeping awful close to 1 in 3 people.
So what I can say is the best way to get, for anybody who's watching, the best positivity rate we have, which is not up to date, the latest, best estimate, which is what I'm trying to do with the one I put on Twitter, but the most accurate one we have is found on the AZDHS page, and it's done basically on a weekly basis. And this is the one they use for the counties, the rolling transmission numbers, and that's going to be in the laboratory testing site right here. If you come down here, you'll see this graph right here on the bottom. This is the best number you have. So right now, as you can see, we have about a 24% positivity rate going on with about, let me see if I can, it's sometimes can be hard to push the button here. 24%, but it's still a low number of tests. It's only about 3,000 tests reported, but it's still kind of starting. You can see the week prior to that, the week of December 6th, which is the best week we have for testing, you can see it's 18% positivity. So what I'm trying to tell you is the 26% I'm showing today, it could be accurate, but we're really not going to be able to tell until 3 or 4 days from now as they add more data to that particular week.
Right. Since we're on this page, I want to move. It just caught my eye, the serology testing that you just had up there a moment ago, and the big spike upward. What accounts for that?
You can see, so serology tests are not done very frequently. For this, it says 63% positivity for the week of 12/13, which is just 2 days ago. There's only 1 day of data in the system, and it's only 16 tests total.
Okay, gotcha.
So it's not an accurate. I mean, it's an accurate number. It's just not a large enough sample to do anything with.
Gotcha. So don't let that alarm you, like it just did me when I looked over and I saw that huge jump over there on the line, and I was like, oh gosh, I hope there's something to account for that. So, limited number of tests on that. Let's go back to the main page and kind of just take us through what's really jumping out to you today, Garrett.
So I said, what's really jumping out, we're seeing tests being added at a very breakneck speed. There's only 14 tests being reported today, but they're all coming from the last couple days. Really, only the last couple days. That's when they're being added. So that's I guess the thing that's jumping out at me right now is there's a disconnect between the cases and the tests. I know, looking at the numbers that Maricopa County reporting, 263,000. I know just by looking at Maricopa County's own site, they're reporting 265,000 today. So what that means to me is that Maricopa County is doing their own research in the MedSys system, which they do all the time, but they are out of synchronization with AZDHS right now. And so what that means is that there's a high likelihood that tomorrow we're going to have a fairly high case day because there's another 2,000 or so cases from Maricopa County that have not been added to AZDHS yet. Now, of course, they're still working through this. Some of these could be duplicates. Some of these could be, we just don't know what all of them are yet. So they'll settle on a number and then it'll be reported. So right now, all I know is that there's another 1,800 or so in Maricopa County that are floating out there that aren't being reported by the AZDHS yet.
Right. So let's go around the counties a little bit since you're on that map and just kind of show us what's going on sort of county by county, if you don't mind.
Sure. I'm going to put it on rates. I'm going to set the color scheme to rates per 100,000 because to me, it tells a better story of what's actually going on.
Sure.
You can see the rates in Navajo County, very high rate number in Navajo County, 30 cases added today, 1 death. Apache County, 123 cases, 1 death. We'll go to Yuma. Yuma's being hit pretty hard right now. However, you can see minus 307 cases. Again, this is the batch uploading and the research and the deduplication. They must have done some testing down there in the congregate settings or some other areas because there's 2 large prisons down there. and that could account for them actually removing 300 cases from their system. So whenever you see that number, while you might think, oh, that doesn't sound right, remember this is a living, breathing database that they're working with. And so they make changes all the time based on the research they're doing. The epidemiologists that are doing, they're very highly trained people that are doing this. And so, you know, they get a laboratory testing data from, you know, SonoraQuest, LabCorp, anyone else, but it was done for like a specific area, like I said, a congregate setting or something. And, you know, they do another testing regimen in some area, and a bunch of tests come back. Well, you know, it initially gets added, and then they work one by one through the cases to make sure that they're not duplicates. And that's probably what's going on here in Utah.
Yeah. All right. How about some of the other counties as we kind of take a look around this state?
Sure.
Anything jump out to you here?
We'll go down to Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz, 56 added today. Pima County, 798 added today. As you know, Pima County just instituted a curfew. And so it's gonna be interesting to see if that mitigation effort does do what it's supposed to. And you know, we just have to wait 14 days in order to see if it does anything.
Yeah, and that's the same situation they have, you know, up on the Navajo Nation, that they've had these kind of rolling curfews going on, these weekend lockdowns going on. Are we seeing the results of that back yet, or is that still a work in progress?
Let me pull up the Navajo Nation. I have it in another Excel sheet, and I think I'll be able to tell you a good answer for that. Oh, let me go to Yavapai. I know Brent's here, and Brent is always very interested in what's going on in Yavapai, so we'll see what Yavapai added today. 150 cases added today, and two deaths today in Yavapai County. So let me see if I could go to Yavapai. I was working on something else today that kind of messed up my Excel spreadsheets here. Okay, so when I go to Yavapai County, or excuse me, not Yavapai County, Navajo Nation, my apologies. I would say, looking at their numbers, so they have been fairly level for the past couple of weeks. In fact, today's report, they only added about 2.2% week over week. That's where they are. Only about 2% of an increase from where they were the week prior. And in fact, in some cases, they've been in the negative. It seems that since November 27th, when at the beginning of the month, they were adding their week over week numbers were 50, 60, 70% increases every single day. And now their numbers are either in the tens or in the lower digits. So whatever they've done since that late November number is starting to pay off, or you know, on the other end of that spectrum, of course, it's just that, you know, all of the holiday gathering information, you know, all those cases might be coming to an end in the Navajo Nation. But let's just give them the benefit of doubt, because I know that they're doing a lot of mitigation strategies over there, and say that it's probably likely that we're seeing decreases because of that.
Yeah. You know, we're getting some requests for Coconino County as well. Can you move on over there?
Coconino is about 134 and 1 is where Coconino is right now.
Okay.
So, and I'll pull up something else really quick too, to go over all of these. This is just a week, but I just updated this. I think someone asked for it yesterday and I didn't have it updated. And so I'm going to show it to you now. Hard to read on the screen, but this is the county by county, week by week increases per capita. It's that sheet that I put out that sort of looks like a musical, like a sheet music. And let's see, it's coming up right now. Sorry for the wait.
No problem.
Yeah, here it comes. So.
And then we'll tease ahead a little bit and talk about one of the things that we had talked about after the show yesterday was you had pulled some of the numbers about like the turnaround times of how long some of the labs are taking to turn around some of the testing. So we'll get to that in just a moment. But first, I wanted to give you an opportunity here to get that other sheet up.
Yeah, I've got it up now. It just takes a second or so to load, but it has loaded. So let me go to, okay, I'm ready.
All right.
Sorry about that. So this is basically the week by week information. I've got it set to last week as being December 6th as being the last data point we're looking at. And the reason that is because there's not a lot of data for this most recent week. And so there's no reason to show it. So this is what we're basically Apache County has seen a decrease. Arizona in total has seen a decrease so far. Cochise have seen a decrease. Coconino has seen a decrease. Gila County has seen an increase week by week. Graham County has seen an increase. Greenlee a decrease. La Paz a decrease. Maricopa a decrease. So basically, almost all decreases right now. Mojave, Navajo are both decreases. Pima County decrease. Pinal County is a slight increase. Santa Cruz a decrease. Yavapai County a decrease. And Yuma County a decrease. So we're seeing basically right now, most of the week by week information for Arizona is going down right now.
Mhm.
However, as I've said, the problem with this, of course, is that if we get another report of 8, 9, 10,000 tomorrow, and because we're only 2 days in to the reporting for this most recent week, a lot of this can flip right back to an increase tomorrow,
Right.
depending on what these reports look like. We're still getting, most of the time when we get information in, as you can see, let me go up here really quick. Most of the cases that were added, and I have an error here I have to fix. That's not 2 cases, that's already 2,000. But the cases added, most of the time they're added about 4 or 5 days ago is when they really start to show up in the system. So because we're still waiting on cases to be added into the system from 4 or 5 days ago, and we're still in the middle of reporting that means that I'm still going to be adding cases tomorrow from December 11th and December 12th. And so those musical numbers I just showed you, the bubbles, they can flip right back into the increase tomorrow or the next day. So we're not out of the woods yet to see if we have a week over week increase. That's basically what I'm saying, in a long way. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but certainly there's a possibility that we may, it again, a lot of ifs in this, but if the numbers hold, and if we continue on sort of that current trajectory of some of the counties going down, that we may have hit and crested sort of this wave that we're in the midst of right now. It sounds like, again, if everything holds.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at these numbers right here, if you look, this is the case curve, and you can see that the week of not December, that is the December 6th. So the week of December 1st, if you will, excuse me, also the actual weekend, November 29th and December 6th. That's these 2 weeks you're looking at right here. That's these 2 numbers.
Yep.
And what's interesting about that is that if you look at the pattern of increase, obviously we've been seeing these massive increases that have been continued. However, now we're seeing a leveling off of these numbers. And although I will be adding more numbers, as you can see, I'm not going to be adding too much to these right here. So because of that, it does look like right now, those 2 weeks are going to be more level than they are going to see a tremendous increase. So now the question is not if our epi curves are going to increase week over week, it's if they are going to go down. Or are we going to see how long will we stay at this sort of level area? That's where we are right now. It does appear so.
Yeah, and certainly we talked about this a little bit yesterday too, but it certainly bears repeating because it's the biggest news of the week is the vaccine now being rolled out, the Pfizer vaccine now being rolled out. I know they had a distribution event, if you will, an inoculation event at the VA today, and they're starting to roll that out to the first people, the healthcare workers, and folks who are in the long-term care facilities are obviously going to be in that first group. But as we were talking yesterday, you said to see the effects of that is going to take several weeks at least.
Oh, several weeks. I mean, we looked at this yesterday, but it's going to take it looks 6 to 8 weeks, and that's at minimum to just see any sort of impact between what's going on. And regardless of mitigation strategy or not, the vaccine does not kick in as far as the modeling is concerned until about 2 months from now. That's just the way it is.
Right.
And that's simply because they can only, you can only distribute so much. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of people looking for this vaccine, wanting to get this vaccine. It's a 2 booster shot, so you still have to wait a month, basically, no matter what, because you get your first shot, and you got to wait to take the next shot that gives you that 92% immunity, whatever it is. We're not going to. The general public is not going to have this generally available to them until February or March.
Yeah. So we will continue to watch that, certainly. But I also wanted to, we teased it a little bit, so I want to talk about it, is the turnaround times on some of the testing right now, because I know we're going into, we're we're in the thick of the holidays, really, but we're inching closer and closer to Christmas here. And a lot of people want to see their friends, want to see their family members, and their cautions are out there certainly about, take into consideration who you might invite into your bubble, if you will, or who you want to potentially expose, even if it is inadvertently. And that we can't necessarily test our way out of that, but it is one tool that we have. So the testing turnaround times, you have some of those.
Yeah, so SonoraQuest Laboratories is our largest testing partner in Arizona. They produce most of the tests still to this day. And if we used to spend a lot of time looking at this dashboard, especially in the late summer, because the testing turnaround time was 17, 18, 19, 20 days sometimes. It was out there. I mean, it was to the point where it really didn't matter anymore whether you tested positive or not, because you were already outside the quarantine of what you were supposed to do.
Right.
However, the turnaround time right now, the current average turnaround time is 0.79 days. So right now they are quite literally turning out tests and processing and giving them back to AZDHS in less than a day right now is what it looks like. So they are, and you can see that down here. You can see there's only 84 tests in the SonoraQuest queue that are over 3 days old. The rest of them are all under 3 days. So they are processing these tests at lightning speed. And that's one of the reasons why our test positivity rates are going a little weird, the ones that aren't using more stable weekly numbers, because these tests are coming in way faster than the AZDHS is able to research and affirm case data.
Right. That is amazing when you talk about under a day to turn most of these tests, and especially with the volume that we're seeing here in Arizona now.
Yes. And you can see here's their positivity rate, and this is again just based off of their data alone. So this has nothing to do with researching cases. There could be duplicates in this number because they're just literally doing this by the test. And you can see it looks like about 3 weeks ago, about 19%, or excuse me, 21% is our current positivity rate with SonoraQuest right now.
Yeah. And I see Carol saying that she's waiting for test results for her daughter here, and it looks like it's been a week for her. And Carol, I feel you. I have been waiting more than a day as well. We did it with my own family just to be safe, because my in-laws are coming to town. And so yes, I know it's not always less than a day.
Yeah,
it's just on average less than a day.
For example, I know that we know that Embry Women's Health, I think it's called. They were having capacity issues for the past week or so.
Yeah.
And so tests that were being administered and done by Embry Women's Health were taking on average 6-7 days to get an answer back. And that was really only of that provider. Like if someone got it at Embry Women's Health, it could take 6-7 days. But if they got it at a Banner urgent care or a Dignity Health urgent care or whatever, you would have received a result back in about 2 to 3 days.
Yeah. Hey, how about ASU's Biodesign Institute? Because I know they had partnered up with ACDHS, and so a lot of the big volume of testing has been going through there as well. Any numbers from them?
I haven't looked recently to see if Biodesign has dashboard for their testing data. I know that they have critical trends, but I do not see. I'm looking right here, and oh, here it is. Okay, wow, they just added it. Okay, thank you. I love doing this stuff on the fly, right? So Biodesign critical trends of their laboratory. So this is their laboratory metrics. They say they have processed a total from yesterday 422,000 tests.
Yep.
They are processing about 1,844 tests a day, and their average turnaround time is basically 25 hours, 26 hours. So it's just a little over a day for them to get that. So that's their laboratory metrics for what they're doing.
Yeah. And for the folks at home, if you haven't gone through this process yet, if you haven't had yourself or family members tested, some of the places make it a little more challenging to sign up all of the family members, but it seems like they're processing the tests a little bit faster. And then some of the other places make it very easy to sign up the whole family and get it done all at once, but they're taking a little bit longer, as you mentioned, with the Embry Women's Health. So it's, a little bit of a pick your poison on that situation with the testing. But let's talk about a little bit about RT Live. That we were talking about that yesterday. We were up near the top of the heap, a place we don't want to be, along with California and I think Rhode Island yesterday, right? With our transmission rates.
Yeah, that's we're at the top again. I haven't checked today, but here we are back at the top of the heap. So we're at 1.21, and actually fairly. I mean, as you can see, everyone else is sort of in a line here, and we sort of bump up. So at 1.15 is the next one in Massachusetts, and then we bump up to 1.21. So we're in the top of the heap again. I know that's not really one of the. As you said, this isn't one that you want. This isn't a race you want to win.
Right.
So that's where we are right now, and we see that in. I showed you that 91 DVOP data as well yesterday, and I'll show it again really quickly because yesterday's large report is now inside of it, and we were talking about where Arizona stood in comparison to the rest of in the country in normalized per capita data. And when we look at this, we can see that now Arizona it was the fourth. Or no, it wasn't the fourth. It was like the seventh, and now it's the third. So just yesterday's report alone dropped us off from now we are only behind Tennessee and Rhode Island in per capita cases because of yesterday's very large report.
Right. And that reflected some of those weekend numbers as well, because I remember yesterday we were talking about there was a little asterisk next to the numbers. So just while it was a huge number, it also reflected a change in how the reporting comes out to us. I know one of the interesting things you had on this was you were able to sort of isolate by region. You want to go through that one more time? Because that's, I think that's fascinating.
I just want to make a caveat on the deaths, of course, because that's also very important. Let me just look at all these. In the Northeast, we'll do it by region again. Arizona, Rhode Island is the only place that is that has a higher per capita case rate than Arizona in the Northeast. In the Midwest, we have the highest of all the Midwestern states. Ohio is just under us, but we're higher than everybody else. When we look at the South, the southern states, Tennessee does have a higher per capita rate than we do, and they're going up at about the same rate as we are. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But aside from that, really, everyone else is pretty much in the middle of the pack in the South. And then on the West, we are by far the highest in the West. So Arizona, and then next is Nevada, Idaho, Utah, and then California. Right. So those are the sort of, and then New Mexico rounding out the top five.
Right. So, hey, Nikki's asking real quick as you go through these, Garrett, to explain what the RT, what RT is exactly.
So the RT is the rate of transmission over time. I know the media, we tend to call it the R naught. And while it is technically it's related to the R naught, it's not the R naught any longer because the R naught is only done at the beginning of a pandemic. It's done to estimate what the pandemic could do. And it's only done without having any data in. So what the RT is the reproduction value with time added in. So so what this is it's basically the same thing. It's the same type of number. It's just no longer it's a better estimate simply because it now has data fed into it. And the best way of describing it is if 100 people have COVID-19, an RT of over 1 means that they can, our RT of 1.21 means that if 100 people in Arizona have COVID-19, then it is likely that those people are going to contract that and give it to 121 people.
Right.
And if you're under 1, like say Wyoming right now, Wyoming has a 0.86, which means if 100 people in Wyoming have COVID-19, then they are able to contract that or infect 86 people. So eventually over time, the virus will just go away for the most part because, obviously if you're giving it to less people, there's less people, it's no longer growing, it's shrinking in terms of population.
Yeah. One of the things we haven't talked about today, hospitalization rates. I know there's, still a whole lot of concern about that. Maybe let's go through some of those numbers if you have them at your fingertips there.
Of course. I always have those at my fingertips. Let's go through the census data at the ASDHS, best place to understand it. We'll start with the ICU. Similar situation we're in from yesterday. You can see that the ICU beds are right now, they're close to their summer peak. for Arizona. 49% of ICU patients are COVID-19, and only 42% are non-COVID-19, with a headroom of about 9%. So about 91% of our our ICUs are full. About 90% are full for the inpatient, and that is 43% of our licensed bed capacity is COVID-19, and 47% is non-COVID-19. So there's still more non-COVID-19 patients in the hospitals than there are not. And then if we go to the COVID-19 data, you can see we hit records again with inpatient, highest number we've had. Ventilator, 579. That's about where we were in late July. ICU, 863. Again, about where we were almost at the peak, about late July again. Discharge numbers are going down, 721, but this is a quite noisy number. We're going to see where this goes. But it does seem to be right now. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Now, the ED number, this one's the most interesting because this one is dropping dramatically, and I don't know why quite yet, because this has gone down for 6 days straight. 2166 was our top and record on December 9th, and it's falling to 1579. So it is dropping dramatically right now. We will just have to, we'll see if that continues. I would expect this number to go up at least once in the next couple days. Obviously, just reset a little bit, but we don't know yet. We'll have to wait till tomorrow.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the modeling in maybe the last, 8-9 minutes here we have left, because that's always an interesting thing given the numbers that we saw from the county and those emergency department numbers that you just showed us.
Yes, so I'm going to take. I think we spent a little time here yesterday, but we'll go back here. This is going to be again the University of Washington, looking at their SEER modeling, which is an epidemiological model. We're going to look at only what they think is the projected where we are in Arizona. We're going to look at where they think if we went into 100% mask compliance and then with a rapid rollout of the vaccine. And I'm going to do them one at a time so we can kind of easily see them. So I'll start with the masks. Full mask compliance. You can see it thinks that we would about 1,000 less people in Arizona would die in total with full mask, 95% mask compliance. Now we're going to go to rapid vaccine rollout. And we see that doesn't.
Sure. Before you jump over to that, can you go back to the mask for just a second? And where does the line diverge there? How long would it take for to really see the effect of that?
The mask line typically diverges. It seems that it starts to really diverge in early January, and that's to be expected because the way that these models are done, especially when they're modeling mitigation strategy, is they give it 14 days to take effect in the reporting and to see the numbers. And then after that, of course, because it's deaths, this won't impact the numbers for at least another 14 days or so, because someone has to follow the progression of the disease, and the progression of the disease, if someone is a high risk person and they got COVID-19 right now, and unfortunately the outcome of this disease was going to be death for this person, it's going to take, on typical time, is about 23-25 days for the disease to go through its entire progress. So that's why it doesn't diverge until then. So now we're going to look at rapid vaccine rollout, and you can see this doesn't even diverge until late February, and at that it barely diverges at all. It only believes that the rapid vaccine I can't speak today. It goes from 11.9 to 12.3 in that particular number. So now we'll go to daily deaths. I'm going to take out the easing. I'm going to take out the rapid rollout for now and just look at masks. And this is exactly what I'm talking about when I was talking to say daily deaths. It believes that if we were to do something right now, it would be the impact in daily deaths would be immediately felt on December 27th. And then over time, as you can see, it would catch up. The standard Arizona projection would catch up. Now, if we do the vaccine again, you can see this one doesn't really make a difference in the number of February. That's when it diverges and we start to see lower numbers.
Right.
And then infections, again, taking out easing, we'll take out the rollout. Masking, in daily infections. Now, this one has nothing. This one actually presumes, what's happening on the ground without confirmed cases. So this is why this one has a lot more divergence to it.
Sure.
You can see this one, it says, oh no, it would be immediate. There'd be immediate changes. And they basically meet at the end of March when they think that most, it's pretty much going to be gone anyway. Pardon me. And then if we take out masks and we go to vaccine rollout.
Yep.
And again, we can see how the divergence for daily infections does not show up in the data until late January. That's when it believes that the vaccine will do anything to change our trajectory. It does believe we are at almost peak here on what's happening out there.
Yeah.
And, this is our hospitalizations. You can see at this point, I think ICU beds, it does believe that we are in a situation where we could be above where, like in January, we could be over our capacity in ICU. So
yeah. So again, I keep mentioning we're coming up, on Christmas here, and a lot of people are going to be seeing their loved ones and those closest to them. When do you think we'll really see the impact of the Christmas holiday on the numbers that you have?
I think if the Christmas holiday is going to do anything to the numbers, we will see the true impact about January. I'd say either January 7th, 8th, 9th, or the week after that. That's when we're going to really start to see if the Christmas holiday did impact the numbers.
And have we essentially like washed through the Thanksgiving holiday now?
Yes, at this point, we are now at the post-Thanksgiving infections. So the people that, if anybody got the infections on Thanksgiving, we're now at that basically that next generation mutation, if you will, of the infection. So it's now people who got the virus post-Thanksgiving who are now giving it to people. This is no longer basically. I'm saying almost everyone who has an active infection at this point, almost all of them didn't get it at Thanksgiving.
Right.
For
gotcha.
Active infections.
Yep. Gotcha.
Let me show you what that looks like. I used to show a model a lot from MIT, and then the guy stopped doing models, but he does have an interesting site up now in which he looks at the counties and where he thinks, based on machine learning, what he thinks the current infection is in the county, which is the number of people who at this very moment are infected in the county, and then also what the total infections are. And I think it's very interesting. You can see these numbers believes about 3.5% of Maricopa County are walking around right now infectious.
Okay.
Or in the hospital. But he believes that about 1 in 5 people in Maricopa have been infected over time. You can see that number is lower in Pima, it's 17%, Pinal, it's 16%, Yavapai, it's only 11%, but it does have a higher number of people who are currently infected. Yuma County, very interesting. He believes that 7% of Yuma County is walking around infected right now, with a total of almost 40%, 38.7% of Yuma County that they believe have been infected by the virus at one point or another.
Yep.
Mojave County, another low number, 14% with 3.4. Coconino, 3.8 with 22%. Cochise, 4% with 14. Navajo, another large number, 4.6% of people in Navajo are walking around with the virus. It's estimated, with about 34% of people in that entire county having contracted the virus at some point. And our last and final county with a large infection number, Santa Cruz County, very small county on the border, 7% are walking around, estimated to be walking around with the virus. And their infection rate in total is about 40% of the county.
Yeah. And as a reminder, we hear so much about this idea of herd immunity and the numbers that we have to get to. I believe the floor is around 70%, they usually say. So something to keep in mind as you look at those numbers. What's that?
I actually have that up and ready to talk about.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Here's our herd immunity. So the floor is about 60%. Of the total population is what they think is the path to herd immunity. And it does believe, same person, same estimates, he does believe that herd immunity will be achieved in the United States around, looks like July. Basically, June, July is when herd immunity, and that's with the virus, with everything. We would be basically at herd immunity strength at around that time.
Right. Doesn't mean you can't get it. Just exactly. It means that it's gone through such a significant portion of the population.
Your probabilities now of getting it are so low I mean, they're just significantly lower than they were. I mean, they're just, I don't know what the probabilities are. I don't want to give you probabilities because I think that would be unfair because I don't know what they are. But it does believe that just the probabilities of getting it would be very low.
Yeah, and obviously, like, there's so many variables that go into something like that in terms of your own behavior and mitigation strategies that you and those around you take. So, want to talk real quickly in our last few moments here. We know so many of you have questions about all of this, from the numbers that Garrett has gone through to the vaccine rollout plan to the science behind the vaccines that are out there, the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccine and some of the others that are coming along as well. And we're going to try and get you some of those answers. We have a live town hall that we're going to be doing. We've got experts. It's happening at 6 o'clock this evening. Some of you may have joined us this morning at 6 a.m. We answered some of your questions as well. We're going through those questions. And if you'd like to, you can certainly email us and get your questions hopefully answered as well. If you have a question, odds are, speaking of probability, odds are that somebody else has that very same question. So please don't be shy. Send us an email. And that's where you can see it. The latest COVID-19 coverage right there is at abc15.com/coronavirus. And don't forget to tune in this evening at 6 o'clock. We've got the experts all gathered together. We're going to try and get you the best answers we possibly can. And you can also share your questions there, as the banner says, in the comments below. And Garrett, any other numbers that you want to go through kind of in our final moments here? Any other things that stood out to you today?
No, I think at this point we're just going to be watching what happens tomorrow with that case number and see if we're now at a leveling off of cases or a downgrade, or if like we're going to continue, and at what rate are we going to continue moving upwards.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I thank you, my friend, for taking some time and going through all of that for us. It is always fascinating to have you go through all of those numbers and all of that research for us. So, and thank all of you at home for joining us today. You've been watching Coronavirus Inside the Arizona Numbers with Garrett Archer and myself. Kitty Rimmel will be back. So, as I said, just keeping the chair warm for her today. Thanks so much. Have a great day.